So today on Evolved Marketing Podcast, I'll be going solo. Andre had an emergency and he asked me to fill in for him. But luckily, you don't just have to sit and listen to me talk for an hour straight because we have an amazing guest on today. This guest came from a past guest. The introduction happened, so to speak, from a good friend of mine and a repeat guest on the Evolved Marketing Podcast, Jonathan Montoya. And as you may know, if you've been a longtime listener and heard the episodes that Jonathan has come on, he launched a new project about 5 months ago called Funnel Freedom. And that's what we're going to talk about today because we have his business partner on this project, Sean McLellan. Welcome to the show here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian. I really appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to dive into it, and I'm excited to talk to you and really just get to know you. That's what we're going to do here today is get to know you because
Perfect.
we're not really familiar, but you came highly recommended from Jonathan Montoya. I called you one of the smartest people he's ever met in his life. So not to put you on the spot and embarrass you here, but I'm excited. So let's just get a quick backstory here. I know I see the big award over your shoulder. I see a slightly smaller award kind of down below that and another one as you move. So you've clearly
got to find places to put them.
Online marketing game and digital marketing game and entrepreneurship game for a long time. So what does that look like? How did it get started? What are some of the things that you've had your hands into before this new project?
And for me, I have always just really enjoyed finding things that are fun and exciting, but also solve problems for other people. Like I really enjoy the feeling myself of figuring something out and pushing to a new level or figuring out something new. I love learning things, experiencing new things, and helping solve problems for people and seeing that same light that I feel when I am involved in those type of things happen in them. Like I really have always enjoyed that. And so I was definitely, like many of us, I'm sure, the kid with the lemonade stand, so on and so forth, and all those things. But no, as an adult, I got into graphic design and web design and everything right when that was first really becoming a thing out of your house with home offices and that sort of thing. And after I figured out how to do that, I thought, wait, I could design things for my own businesses. So my wife and I, we got married, and then within about a year or so, she started doing photography for people, and inevitably that leads to somebody's getting married, and she was terrified of that sort of thing, and so I just kind of jumped in and was able to do branding and site and all sorts of stuff, which, there weren't a million amazing templates back then. So that really set things apart. But like kind of from there on out, as I've jumped from business to business, using that initial skill, like I like learning something and then figuring out, okay, I figured something out here, rather than continuing to go this direction, what else could I apply this to that would kind of give you a head start in another industry, so to speak. So kind of circling back to the beginning there, we did the wedding photography thing for about a decade. We shot in over a dozen different countries, won all sorts of awards. My wife won more than me, so she's better. And then I ended up creating the first product that I'm aware of that like was a commercially available thing for the charcoal teeth whitening. Like that's a standard product for all oral health care brands and everything now, but it definitely wasn't back then. Now people have been using it for a long time, but there wasn't a product for it. So I created something called Smart Ash, and that was my first 7-figure product. I was after we left weddings because that's a 20-somethings game. I'm 41 now, so the idea of carrying all that gear around and everything for 12 hours on weekends and everything, that eventually kind of wears on you.
There's just certain things we don't want to keep doing for the rest of our life. I was big fan of the restaurant industry, wanted to own restaurants, and as I got into my 30s, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do this when I'm in my 40s, so I better figure out this online thing. So I get it.
Exactly. I mean, I found some old posts that I had written from years back talking about how much we were working as photographers. And I was like, I'm so excited. I can't imagine doing anything else. We're putting in all these hours, but I love every second of it and all this. And I remember coming across that about 10 years after I wrote it. And I was like, whoa, who's that guy? So, but yeah, all that said, after that, getting into like the natural product spaces and everything, I then thought, if somebody could figure out how to make an organic deodorant that actually worked, I bet that would be a really killer product because at that time, there weren't very many of them, and the ones that were definitely did not work at all. I mean, it was kind of a running joke for a few years and all that thing, like how bad all the options were. But I just tried and tried and tried and tried. And after about 200 different attempts, just on nights, weekends, here and there, I finally figured it out, applied that same branding and packaging skill from, that I've been applying to all these other businesses to that one. And it worked. It blew up, and we got a great foothold in the market. And I actually sold that company 2 years ago, and took a year and a half off to spend time with the family, travel, do all sorts of fun things. And then it was time to launch something with Jonathan. And that brings us to our current project right now.
Cool. Excellent. Well, before we get
Yeah,
into that, I have two questions for you.
please fire away.
These Smart Ash and the organic deodorant, were these
Yeah.
exclusively online and direct to consumer, or what did that business model look like?
It was online, direct to consumer. So, well, I take that back. So the Smart Ash project, the that's how I started it. But then I ended up partnering with a distributor, and they had all sorts of connections to tons and tons of physical stores all over the place. And I mean, the person that I was working with, she had an amazing experience with distribution and getting things in small stores all the way up to Target, Walmart's. Like she had a product in Target that was one of their top three selling SKUs in their physical store for years and years, that type of thing. So she brought those connections and that experience to the table. I brought a new product, a unique thing, and she always liked kind of weird products and everything. Actually, her top three SKU was that nose Frida snot sucker thing.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
so yeah, like she was already into weird stuff. So putting black stuff on your teeth, that's normal now, but when we first put it out there, like people just started recording videos and posting photos, and like it just took off and became its own thing, and we didn't expect the viral thing to just happen on its own for that. So that was kind of fun. But yeah, she had this whole process where you get things in smaller physical retail stores and make sure that they're selling and you've got enough customers coming in that the inventory is turning over. And then you go to what she called like tier two, tier three, and then tier four stores. And the highest ones being like your general consumer, Target, Walmart, that type of thing. And so she had this whole process that she did to kind of get that data and kind of stair step up because you can get things in better stores, but if you don't have that infrastructure built up, then the product's not going to turn over, and then they're not going to order again. And then even if your product does take off, it's going to take a lot more to get back into those stores because they already tried it and failed, and they're like, I don't want to touch that anymore.
Mhm.
So that was the approach for that one. But one of the methods that she used to get data for where the biggest customer basis would be was she put things on Amazon and then saw all of where the orders were shipping, what cities they were. So she would look and say, well, look, we got 1,000 orders from Austin, Texas, but only 100 from, wherever. And so it's like, okay, now she could bring that data to them and say, look, we've got all these customers in this city, and then she'd put them in one store at a time. And so I think that got up to maybe 300 or 400 retail locations. And then everyone in the world copied that product, and now there's 10 billion of them. And
Mm.
I knew that was going to happen, which is exactly why on nights and weekends, I was like, I got to crack the code on this organic deodorant situation. But I saw what she did for the data gathering portion, and I thought I could learn the ins and outs of that. And so I joined a coaching program with a guy who'd sold, tens of millions on Amazon. And I just listened to every word that man said. I did all the things. And that's how we launched the next product and got the initial foothold. And it was awesome. It was awesome.
and
So
and it worked. It was proven
yeah,
principle that was repeatable. So I love hearing
exactly.
about that. Now, when she's
Yeah.
finding this data from Amazon, is she just using
Mhm.
that as leverage for the bigger retailers, or is there more to it than that?
Not leverage for the bigger retailers, but like when she would come to the smaller retailers, first of all, she already had a relationship with them and
Mhm.
had different products of hers in there and other things that she represented. So, I mean, she already had her foot in the door. and everything. But when she would come out with a new thing, like at that time, that was definitely considered a weird, uh, yeah, I can't think of the right word for it, but weird and maybe you'd take a chance on it, not a surefire bet type product. But when she was able to just come to them and say like, okay, well, my other things sell well in your store, and also we do have here's repeating orders from people in this area, and so
Mm.
she would also pitch it as a give to them. It's not like you go to them and it's like, please put my product in your store. Instead, it's a hey, we have a few hundred people in your city that are buying this on Amazon. If we just put it in your store exclusively for the next 3 months, then people who are looking for something right away and want to check it out, that's going to be more traffic that's going to your store looking for our product specifically because it's the only place that they can get it. And so she would do like an exclusivity thing for a certain
Hmm.
period of time. Then, when the orders were turning over really quickly and they're restocking and everything, then it would be like, okay, we can support 3 new stores in this city, 5 new stores, all that type of thing. It was fascinating. Like I never would have thought of any of that type of stuff. And so it was equally as exciting to see the sales come in for me as it was to see who she was talking to, what she was saying, and how she was how she was approaching everything so that I could then apply that to anything and everything else. So, yeah.
Really interesting. Now, the exclusivity thing, did she give a time frame
Mhm.
on that you know of? And
I
if so,
believe that
like
she
how long
did.
roughly?
I believe that she did have a time frame on it. I'm positive that she had a time frame on it because the overall plan was to eventually have it be broad retail, Walmart,
Hmm.
Target, all that type of stuff. So I mean that alone would already blow that out of the water. But it was like a multi-year type plan to get there. Um, what the time frame was, I definitely never heard the specifics on that. When I just said a minute ago, like 3 months, something or other like that, it would have made sense based on the time frames that I'm aware of that it probably was, 3 months, 6 months, something or other like that. And probably also with like a caveat of, and maybe we can re-up for another exclusivity period at the end and we kind of reassess. So then if
Right.
sales aren't picking up, if inventory is not turning over, then it's like, okay, well, you'll have exclusive for X amount more time, that type of thing. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
was just curious because I can remember back
Yeah.
in my lifetime of holding on to my BlackBerry because I was waiting for iPhones to come to Verizon, and so I didn't have to switch to AT&T, and T, and it just seemed like it was a long deal. And I was just
Yeah.
curious and get some insight from you on that. Now, the second question I had before we get into this new thing that you have going on is you
Yeah.
sold the product, you took a year and a
Mhm.
half off, and you traveled with your family. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, it
How
is.
old were your kids when you traveled?
Well, gosh, let me see here. So we sold well, I mean, honestly, we were doing the traveling thing the whole time. In fact, the month that we launched the deodorant on Amazon, like I'd done some testing direct to website, like putting ads in a few places, putting social media posts in a few places just to see if it would get traction and what
Hmm.
people's feedback were and everything, beyond just the friends and family who had tried things out to begin with. And after we proved that, we decided, okay, let's do what our distributor did with the Smartash product. And so I figured out how the Amazon algorithm works and the listings and everything. I published it, and I think I sent them maybe 2 or 300 deodorant sticks to start with in the first batch. And I shipped them to them. And then me and the family and we hopped in the RV and went on a 30-day road trip. And
Okay.
we were going all over the place. And at that time, they would have been probably about 2, 4, 6, and 8 would be my guess. I'd have to
Okay.
double check, but that's the spacing.
Well,
So
the reason I asked
roughly,
is because I wanted to
yeah,
know what was their
yeah,
favorite place because I have a lot of people who come on who they've done the
yeah,
same thing and they've taken some time off and they've
yeah.
traveled around and I always ask them what their favorite place was and Salt Lake City
Oh
was a big one
man.
that came up. But what did the kids like? Because I have kids, they're getting a little bit
Oh
older than that
yeah.
now, but
Well, I tell you, we've been so many places, it'd be tough to completely narrow that down. But I know that one of those first big trips, I think it may have been the one that I'm talking about right now. Yes, yeah, it was this one where it was a month-long trip and we went out into the Midwest, up into Glacier, up into Canada. So we went up all the way up to Banff, I think. So,
hmm.
a few hours up into Canada, went to those beautiful national parks, Lake Louise, all those things. I mean, it was absolutely fantastic. And we've done that type of thing a few times. So some of the other things I'm thinking of maybe blending together with some other
Right,
trips,
right,
but
right.
we did that. I myself, I had never went to Disney World as a kid, so I went as an adult for the first time, and bringing my wife and them. She went once as a kid, and so I had no idea what to expect. But like we ended up doing the season pass thing, going down there several times and all that, and they had a blast. But I mean, I think they're similar to how I am, how I was describing earlier about doing things that are exciting and new and that
Hmm.
type of thing. And so I don't know that they would have a specific favorite so much as just really enjoy the process itself and doing something new together every time. So yeah.
Really, really cool. Thanks for
Yeah,
taking time on that and answering that because I was just
of
curious. Now let's
course.
talk about what's going on right now. The
Yeah,
the
let's do
thing
it.
that brought us together. So from an outsider's perspective, Funnel
Yeah.
Freedom, right? Really
Yeah.
cool software built on the back of GoHighLevel, correct?
Yep. That's correct.
And in simplest terms, done for you affiliate marketing, meaning the funnels are there, the automation is there, but that's where it kind of
Yeah.
ends for me. So first of all,
Sure.
what does it do? What does Funnel Freedom do, and
Yeah.
why would somebody want to buy it?
Absolutely. Well, the most succinct answer to that would be it's the best tool to help somebody who is stuck in a 9 to 5 job but hasn't ever uh, tried the self-employment route or starting a business and they don't know or possibly don't have all of the knowledge and skill sets required for that. I mean, as a business owner, you are everything until you start hiring help, which, usually is quite a bit into the game. You have to know all the marketing, all the creation, all the offer, all the sales, all the fulfillment. I mean, like everything. It's all you. And if you're working a 9 to 5 job and you also hate it and you're exhausted when you get home, then there's a gazillion things you have to do to start a business. But first, you have to know what those things even are. And then you have to learn them and get good at them. And so, this is a great either shortcut to be able to get out of a job and put your foot in the self-employment game without having to learn all of those skills. You can just learn a handful of them, and then a lot of other things can be done for you, fulfilled by other people, all of that type of thing. And um, so yeah, like the last 5 years or so, Jonathan has been teaching people his system, how he built everything, all the content creation, how to build the funnels, how to write the emails, how to make automations, how to build an email list, all the technical components that go behind all of that, how to duct tape all of it together into this system that then can generate money for you while you're sleeping, while you're traveling and everything, which is great. And he's helped tons of people quit their jobs and everything over the years doing it. However, there's still a very large segment of people, even if you have all of that information and everything, that the technical aspects and just putting it all together is still just like a foreign concept. And it's just like, you get home from that job and it's like, okay, you're just looking at all this stuff. Like, what do I even do? And everything. And so with Funnel Freedom, what we have done is we have built into a software and basically systematized into a turnkey solution where you're basically cloning what he spent years building in one afternoon, having it set up in a matter of minutes. Maybe if you need some extra time, like an hour or something like that. I mean, we've got support people, all sorts of live support and everything. So I mean, there's lots of hands-on available and everything. But you can basically have the whole system up and running as how he has been teaching it in one afternoon. And then all you have to learn from that point is, well, hey, I want to add some of my own emails into the mix, inject my own personality so people connect with me better and are more likely to take my recommendations for buying these other products, and learning how to generate traffic to send to lead magnets that build your email list that we provide for you inside of the software. But that's it. You just learn those things, and then the system does everything else for you. And so, I mean, if you can spend, at least 3 to 5 hours a week or so building your business, then you have a great shot at getting good traction with something or other like this. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it definitely fills a need, and that's what I love
Yeah.
about it
Thank you.
because I think back to my first ever affiliate commission. And sometimes I hate telling the story and sometimes I love telling it, but it was the scammiest, spammy. It wasn't scammy, it was spammy for sure.
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
And I thought about all the things I had to do just to spam a ClickBank product, basically. And it was a lot. But that first
Absolutely.
commission that came in, even if it was $20 or $30 or whatever it was, it changed my
Sure.
life because it gave
Nice.
validation to the opportunity. So that's why I love Funnel Freedom and the unique value proposition of the
Thank
fact
you.
that, hey, you literally can be up and running quickly. Because let's be honest, when you see these people on social media saying, hey, you can make $1,000 a day in 15 minutes a day, okay, that might be the
Right.
reality for someone like me. But the
Yeah,
problem is the beginning is the hardest part. You got to get past that. And that's where
exactly.
most people do not get past. So when you're
Yeah.
looking at people who've been there, like, oh, I want to do this affiliate marketing thing. And then they get in there and the first thing they see is funnels and tech and connect this domain and all this stuff. And it just really
Right.
derails them. What's their experience been like going through Funnel Freedom from, I'm sure you have conversations with your customers. So what does that look
Yeah.
like? Like what kind of feelings does it bring for them? I guess is what I'm looking to say.
So there still are a few people here and there that are still overwhelmed with it. Usually what I find with those people is they're also bringing with them a lot of other assumptions and ideas. Like they're not letting go of the before stuff. And so sometimes I'll get questions where somebody might be confused about something, but they're talking about, well, when I set this up, how does that work with this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing, and this thing that I'm doing? And how do these all go together? And like outside of that, the feedback has overwhelmingly been incredibly positive. I have actually had people who felt a little bit overwhelmed to begin with, and they maybe didn't see that we had like some of the live support options, for example, and they'll reach out to cancel, and I'll say, hey, here's a refund, cancel, so on and so forth. But then I'll also provide some extra stuff with, hey, if you ever return, we do have this, and this resource. This one's live, this one's chat 24/7, this one's every week with a person leading it. There's this, there's that. I've had several people after that situation come back and say, nobody has treated me like this before. This is great. Can I please reactivate things? I want to try it again. And some of those people now we're sending commissions every month. I mean, it's fantastic. And so, like, that just makes me feel really, really, really great because I can remember working multiple jobs and everything when we first got married and just hitting a ceiling where it's like, okay, in order to make more money, I have to work more, but we're both working all the available hours. So what do we do? And figuring out how to do something that removes that limitation, that took me a long time to do. And so the fact that something like this can help people who maybe didn't have the whatever tech skill that just makes sense to some people, like mechanical stuff doesn't make sense to me at all.
Mhm.
So I totally understand like looking at software and feeling like I look when I'm looking inside a car engine and I'm like, so I do like to put myself in other people's shoes. And I think that drives a lot of how we have built this, why we have built this, and how we support people and all the options that we have, because I like to put myself in the other person's shoes and say, how would I want to be responded to? What options would I want? What would make me feel taken care of? And all of that. And like, I find it difficult actually to do things that don't adhere to that because it makes me feel not good. And I don't like that.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
it is interesting when what you said about the preconceived or beliefs that people come in with.
Yeah.
It as running a coaching program or running the coaching program that I do, that's what I see a lot is when
Yeah.
people come in, you have to almost strip them down and break them down first
Yeah.
before you can build them back up because there is a lot of noise going up in their head. So it's really cool that you don't really need experience, and it's almost better if you don't have all those prior learnings going into something like
Yeah.
this because it's
Yes.
set up in a way that here, this is the straight path.
Oh,
So what does that look like when someone how do you get started basically? Yeah, we know you got to buy it and all that stuff,
Yeah,
but like, how, can you kind of detail that for us so we
for
can know
sure.
what to expect if we go forward with that?
Yeah, so once somebody signs up, like all of the funnels, we actually have a 1 year long nurturing email sequence that goes out. So not only and it's all just installed and ready to go. So like you sign up and there's already a funnel there. There's a year worth of emails there. Everything's connected. Everything's almost ready to go. Basically, we have a list of free affiliate programs that people can join, and most of them people get accepted automatically, instantly. A few of them need some sort of manual review, so it might take a day or two. But basically, you're going to spend a few minutes just filling out forms, getting affiliate links so that the sales can be tracked, so that you can get paid the commission. And you're pretty much just going to go in and put in your name, a photo. You're going to put in your affiliate links, and then you're just going to connect a domain name and set up your email to make sure that it goes to people's inboxes. And once you do that, which takes, at most like an hour,
Hmm.
it can be done in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, something or other like that, then the system's ready to go. And if people need help with things, so the second you sign up, there's going to be an FF support button on the left, and there's videos that walk you through every step. And I think the longest one is the one where Jonathan's signing up for every single one of the affiliate programs and getting the link, which is just your name and address and everything over and over and over again. And that one, I think that one's 18 minutes long, and that's
Mm.
the longest one. So I mean, we're talking like 5 minutes, 2 minutes videos. We've got live, a little help widget in the corner you can press, connect with a live person 24/7. They'll help with any of the steps. And then starting today, actually, we also did an onboarding and tech call every single week, which actually the very first one starts in either 1 or 2 hours from right now, actually. So now people will also have that option. Like, hey, if you're good with DIY, here's a few 5-ish minute videos. If you need help, here's a chat button. If you need somebody to walk you through personally in a group format, we have the weekly thing. So there'll be a thing where you can just respond to that and show up to that call. And then last, there are a few people who are like, look, I just want one person to sit with me for like an hour or two, do everything for me, explain it all, answer every question I have where I'm not, asking in front of a bunch of people. We also have an option for that. And that's a free thing if people get an annual account, or there's a little order bump add-on if people want to add that and not do the full year. But yeah, between all of those options, there's something that fits all the different styles of personality that I can think of so far.
And that's really cool
So
because I think
yeah,
people oftentimes their
yeah,
resistance is
yeah,
from the fact that they want to be helped in the way that they want to be helped. Someone might
exactly.
want to get on a one-on-one.
Yes.
I don't want to get on a one-on-one. I just want to give me the
Yep.
information and I'll go through it.
Yep.
But it's
Yep.
different strokes for different folks, so to speak. You know what I mean? And,
Exactly.
and I think that's
Exactly.
really a big objection that you're helping overcome. So
I appreciate that.
when you say 5 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, it's
Mhm.
because everything is automated, or I guess centralized, from the sense that, hey, if you import your automation
Yeah.
sequence, your email sequence, and
Yeah.
it has 10 emails over the course of the year that promote one product, I'm
Mhm.
correct in assuming that you just put your affiliate link for that product in one location and it
Yes.
automatically populates the link in the emails, correct?
Yeah. So what's really cool is that year-long email sequence that we have. It does have multiple messages in it that promote each of the different things. And the way that Jonathan's been teaching this for the past few years is, there's a lot of people you get on their email list, and every single day it's buy, 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 and that's all that it is. What Jonathan teaches people to do is get people on your list by providing something that's super valuable to make sure that it's the right people, obvious, your lead magnet situation, which is what we have provided in there. But then the emails alternate between, like, here's something that's just pure value, no links, no pitch, no nothing. And then the next one might be, here's some content that's really helpful, and it'll send them to a video of somebody teaching something. Maybe Jonathan's walking them through how to generate traffic through ads or something or other like that. Um, it's going to send them to that content. But what Jonathan used to teach was like you create your own content like that, send people to that on YouTube and put your affiliate links in a YouTube description. What we've done with Funnel Freedom is there are dozens and dozens of those type of content videos that are linked to in these messages, and it'll go to something that Jonathan has recorded, or maybe even an interview that he's done with somebody, just like what we're doing right now, where there's valuable insights and actionable items in there. Well, when those emails get sent, the people who subscribed to their lead magnet, they'll click on that and they'll see the content, be able to watch it and learn all the things. But there's going to be a big button, call to action button on that page that says, hey, if you like this, click here to get this thing that's going to help you do that faster, better, easier, cheaper, whatever. And their affiliate link is actually not only going to be in some of these emails and inside the lead magnet and everything, it's going to be injected onto that call to action button on that content that they didn't even have to create. So it's not just a year of emails, it's all sorts of content that's super helpful, free, etc. But they don't have to create it, but they get the benefit of the credit for the sale by directing somebody to that video, for example. And then, of course, the third type of email is an actual direct offer, which is going to be direct to an affiliate link of some sort. So that just kind of alternates between those so that only 1/3 of them have an offer in them. And they're pitched in a helpful way. It's not buy. It's do you want this in this way? If so, get this. That type of thing.
Right. If you want to achieve this, this is where you go to start type thing.
Exactly. Yep.
You know what I love about that is really two things. First of all, when you talk about the difference between sending all buy emails and then when you actually nurture your list with value,
yes,
it becomes a situation with which I got this saying from Russell Brunson. It becomes a matter of it's not if they're going to buy from you, it's when they're going to buy from you. And that's how I've run my business for the last 8 years. And that's why sometimes I make sales that people met me today virtually. And sometimes I make sales from someone who's been on my list for 4 years. And guess what?
Absolutely.
When you have both going,
exactly,
that's how you hit those numbers stress-free or with as little stress as possible in this game. Because you're playing the long game. So I love that. The other thing I love is the way you populate those videos inside a page with their affiliate link right underneath it, because those pages right there are my highest converting pages and my highest converting emails. And it nurtures your list because it educates them, it excites them, it gives value, but then it reduces all the friction by putting the buy button, the next step that matches the call to action right below it. And those nothing converts better, in my opinion.
100%. No, totally. And something that's really helpful for somebody who's like me is I feel I have always felt like it's difficult to create something from absolutely nothing, but I find it much easier and better to build onto something else that already exists. And that in I think that's how most people create, but I think that when you don't know the source of the inspiration, that appears to a third party person like, oh, you're the most creative person ever. And it's like, well, no, you just don't know what inspired them. Like you're not familiar with their sources, that type of thing. Not to diminish it. I mean, that's how that's how creativity usually works. And I think it's amazing. But it oftentimes appears more magical than it is if you don't have all the pieces, is what I'm getting at. But this is a great system building on what you were talking about, where instead of sitting there looking at a blank screen of, oh, I have to write a year worth of emails, it's like, no, you don't. We have it. You know, you just get people on the list and stuff is going to happen. Like you're good to go. But look at these, learn how they work. You know, just start by adding in one of your own, which we make it super easy where you can just add some in and it will kind of alternate back and forth between the pre-made ones and yours. And it's just all as automatic as can be. But I find it much less daunting, and I definitely would have, you know, going back to first starting and everything, if it was just like, well, here's a system that's running. Do you want to just build on this little thing? Do you want to write up one message that's like this or something like that? It's like, well, yeah, I can do that. But then you're plugging it in, and over time, now you're building a thing that's Jonathan's business cloned but has all of your add-ons in there. And then it's super, super, super powerful. But at least you have something functioning as it should on day one without doing all that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's important too because that's what most people, most marketers, most affiliate marketers don't see when they first come into this game is or they don't have an appreciation for the time it takes to build the backlog of content because that's what really drives the exponential growth is the fact that hey, you can go watch a video of me or go watch a video of Jonathan from a year ago, but you can also watch one from 2 days ago and a week ago, and all that stuff is important. You need this
Yeah.
backlog to have a really good brand that's capable of nurturing long term. And I think that's really cool because people can just tap into that year's worth of content that's already been
Yeah.
created and not have to worry about, okay, what am I going to do now after my initial automation sequence runs out? Because that gets neglected a lot. So you've allowed people to tap into
Way
that
more frequently than people would even think, I tell you.
or care to admit, probably.
Oh,
And it
yeah.
keeps it congruent
Yeah.
too, because it's coming through Jonathan, right? And
Yeah.
you're tapping
Exactly.
into that, so that's helpful. It's not
Yeah.
just, oh, who's this guy again? Oh, what's this?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's really, really powerful stuff. So obviously, this really fills a need. This is not a product that was created to sell something and overcome objections. This is something that can actually help people hit the ground
Exactly.
running and get
Yeah.
that start. Like I said, that changes the game. That first commission doesn't matter how big or small, will change your life.
Yeah.
Assuming you like it and fall in love with the process, which is really what it's all about. So someone
Absolutely.
can get started. Obviously, we'll have links to this down below in the show notes and
Perfect.
the YouTube description to go check it out and learn a little bit more. But I want to talk a little bit more about the high level side of this for the Go
Sure.
High Level folks.
Absolutely.
What advantages did high level give you in launching this? Because you tap into their system
Man.
to build yours. So what does that look like from someone who doesn't know much about high
Yeah.
level other than I've heard a lot about it. It seems pretty cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, when I very first started making websites and everything, I mean, I was typing stuff up in Notepad using little HTML codes from a magazine my grandparents bought me at a grocery store. So, I mean, like that's where I started. And then a few years after that, like WordPress came out and it was like, oh, this is the most incredible thing. We can like get plugins and pre-programmed things. Now I can just kind of work on design and there's all this code that other people have written that do stuff, and then you started getting funnel builders and that type of thing that were more niched down to this specific use case and everything. I mean, I think I signed up for ClickFunnels in the very first year that it came out and all of that. It's very interesting for sure. But what High Level has done is the issue that I had always run into all these years was whether you were coding something yourself or using one of these other platforms, it's like, okay, well, I need to build a funnel or a website. Well, that means I need a website or a funnel builder of some sort. Well, I need a thing to send emails. I need a thing to, track customer purchases. Like all the different things. And so all these different businesses, even the photography, the teeth whitener, deodorant, there are a couple others that I didn't mention that were huge losses and gigantic mistakes. Just, hey, I'm putting that out there right now that it's not always big success. There are failures, and I definitely have had a couple six-figure failures. So yeah, putting that out there for encouragement.
Yeah,
You're getting
exactly.
started.
It happens.
Um, it does. But yeah, I mean, with all of that said, you just, gosh, I lost my train of thought there, right there, Brian. What was I saying right before
So we're
that?
talking about websites and
Oh yes,
you're
tying it
having to
all
piece
together, the
together all these
glue.
different things and
Yeah. So you would either have to do custom things in the beginning, and then things like Zapier and Make and Pabbly came out, and then let's like, oh, that was exciting because now this other software ties the software together. But then every little change that happens, things will break. And High Level, my understanding is that they come from like a programming background, building things for large companies with big infrastructure. And so when they started, they were coming from the we know how to build software primary viewpoint. And then they were like, okay, let's figure out what people need in digital marketing. And so like there's a whole thing where you can go to ideas.gohighlevel.com and anybody can submit an idea for something that they want or need the software to do. And everybody can upvote what they think is most valuable, and they just build what the community asks for based on votes and everything. And so doing it that way, and they have dedicated teams for each of the different areas. So like they'll have a dedicated team that just is their funnel builder team. They have got one that's just the make sure email deliverability is awesome team, like that type of thing. And um, going that approach, like a lot of people, when they look at it the first time, it's like, oh my gosh, this does all the things that I used to need 12 different tools and I had to tape them together and hope that everything worked, and then you're in the middle of a launch, one thing goes wrong, and then, that could be tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars that are lost. But with this, they built it all under one roof with the different teams, and then they connect everything together inside the software. Now you can bring in other things as well, but if you're just doing that with a couple things and they're not necessarily mission critical and everything else is built by the same team under the same roof, it's like it just works really super solid. And there are a lot of issues that we've had in the past where we have lost out on a lot of sales, or business has even gone down for a matter of days or potentially even longer due to one little failure in one place or something like that. And it's not that it can't happen here, it's just way less frequent. And I mean, they just seem to be really super on top of things. Their customer service is fantastic. And for them to have created a business model where somebody like Jonathan and I could come in and build a layer on top of the base layer that they have made, and then and now we've got, I think we just crossed over 650 active members within the last 2 or 3 days. That would have required dozens and dozens of people, years and millions of dollars to do something or other like this. And now they have got all their venture capital funding. And unlike a lot of people who get their first rounds and they all go buy Lambos, they're putting it all back into the business, hiring more, making it an even better product than it already was. I'm ridiculously impressed and very happy to be a partner of theirs where they're what they built goes together with what we built, and everything helps everybody. Everybody wins. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool. And it allows entrepreneurs like you and Jonathan to come in there and build something really pretty cool because you're leveraging their infrastructure that they have in place. And
exactly
the reason I wanted to get into that a little bit is because one thing that I think goes unnoticed perhaps with your funnel freedom, you and Jonathan, is you really have a moat here because it is complex, right? This is not something like a brand like a master resale rights program where, nothing wrong with that. And I sell master resale rights program and educated people on why they might want to buy them. There's unique value or in that. But the bottom line here is funnel freedom is not something that can be easily copied, I would say. Is that fair?
Definitely fair. I mean, because you have all the technical aspects of it, but in addition to that, you have all of the years of content and the business structure and everything. I mean, it's kind of a twofold situation. I mean, just learning all the ins and outs of what should be built, and then there's that. Then there's actually building all of the things, no matter whether it would be in our software or not, just putting it all together, assembling it, finding everything. And then you have the technological component of how do you do all of this but make it be something that hundreds or thousands of people can use and it works for all of them, but still only requires, that 20, 30 minutes of setup time.
Right.
Lots of things to solve and figure out to make all that come together for sure. I'm sure somebody will attempt, but best of luck to you.
Exactly. So does Funnel Freedom and you and Jonathan have a wing, so to speak, inside GoHighLevel? Meaning, was there functionality that you needed that you requested that was implemented because of this build out, or was pretty much everything you needed already there?
Almost everything that we needed was there. There were a few things that I would like to have had, and I have submitted things and people are voting on it and that type of thing. some new things did come out. Some of the things that I voted on, and I think maybe one of them I created. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think one of the ones that I created got voted up and added in, that type of thing. I don't have like a special connection to their team or anything like that. I do know people who do have that. So if there was something that I really needed, I would
Mm,
definitely reach out to them and say, hey, this is really important. Please, please
yeah.
try to move this up on the list. But no, honestly, like it's such a good, like there are some things that show up on that ideas board that get a lot of votes that isn't natively built in, but you can do anyway using all the
Mm,
pieces that were already there anyway. And so there are certain things that on day one, when we started this, I would have said, oh, we need this, this, and this. But after just kind of sitting with it and thinking through it, um, then ideas will just pop into my head that's like, oh, actually, that doesn't need to be built in. I could just use this, this, and this that they already built, and that'll do the same thing. It's not meant to do it that way, but it works, so why not? And
right.
so yeah, we were able to figure out workarounds for anything that was not already there. So yeah, yeah,
Really cool. And then, then you get yourself a system that works and most importantly works for other people in a way that they can figure it out.
exactly,
So
exactly.
back to funnel freedom as a potential customer might
Hmm.
see it when
Sure.
they jump in and decide, hey, I'm going to leverage this tool in order to launch in a timely manner with the
Hmm.
amount of time resources that I have given my current employment situation and family life.
Sure.
What type of revenue streams are they going to get access to? Meaning, what type of things
Yeah.
are going to be sold essentially on their behalf?
Absolutely. So I think we've got about 15 different affiliate programs built in so far. One of those 15 is our own software. And so anybody who refers people to Funnel Freedom, they get a 40% monthly recurring commission on that. So I mean, like that right there is just the perfect example of how cool affiliate marketing is. Because if for example anybody hears about what Jonathan and I have put together and they like it, even if they don't use it themselves, they could just learn about it and then teach other people about it. And then they could get almost half. Jonathan and I split the other part. It's like you literally are making more by referring the software than individually either of us are making, and you didn't have to come up with it, build it,
That's what I
maintain it,
that's
support
what I
it,
like about affiliate marketing too.
right?
From an affiliate
Exactly,
standpoint.
exactly. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. But yeah, like it's just the fact that you have things like that, you don't have to refer too many people in order to make enough money to, cover a car payment or, whatever, like anything that would be helpful to your life. But we've got things like that all the way up to I know one of the offers is a couple thousands, and that one has I believe a 50% commission. And there are others that are smaller in the beginning but can be bigger. So what I mean by that, for example, is we have some like solo ads type things that are recommended for being able to test certain things quickly. He's got certain circumstances where you might want to use things like that. If people sign up through your affiliate link, then you're just going to get a percentage of how much those people spend on those ads. So I mean, there could potentially be no limit to that if you were to refer people who end up running a lot of money through it. But yeah, we have certain things that are like high ticket one-off commissions. We've got things that are services where you're going to get monthly recurring revenue from it. We have other things like that one that I just mentioned where you can get percentages based on what sales levels other people do and all of that. So yeah, it's kind of a wide range. And kind of how I was talking earlier about having the different support types to match with different ways that people are comfortable with learning and being supported and all of that. We do the same with the affiliate programs. Some people don't want a recurring payment for anything. Some people want to make commissions. I know there was one person, I think he said he was a real estate agent before, so he's used to doing lots of direct sales and talking with people. And so he was modifying the system a little bit so that he would more personally reach out with people and like almost do some coaching consulting stuff with them where he's personally like, well, I recommend this for this reason. and all that, and like actually following up, and he's like actively trying to close sales on stuff. And so somebody like that, he's going to make a lot more a lot faster because like just reaching out and having that personal direct connection with people, I mean, it's super helpful. People love it. Um, that close hands-on touch is always going to beat out, like an email
Right.
that
Yeah.
goes out,
The fastest way to make money is just
Yeah,
talk to people and sell them something. I mean, that's just the bottom line right there. So
exactly.
that can definitely tap into that
Yeah.
opportunity if that's your personality. I'm
Yeah.
kind
But
of the
somebody like
exact opposite,
him,
but it works too.
absolutely.
It works
I
too, though.
totally agree. But somebody like him, like he could coach people through, like if he decided he was a solo ads expert or something, he could
Mhm.
totally just coach people on that. And then he could be cultivating people that are actively spending lots on ads. And then if he referred them, he's getting a percentage of that. And so like he could potentially drive that forever. So
Right. And that's the
it's
thing.
very flexible.
It's a
Yeah.
situation where, hey, you get that one whale, so to speak, who goes all in on solo ads. And guess what?
Yep.
You did the same amount of work to get the guy who spent $50 on a test. So why not just
Exactly.
bring people in and it adds up over time. It's a numbers
Yeah.
game. That
Absolutely.
for every, whale, there's might be 100 people who are not. But guess what? Then just refer 101 people and you got your whale, and then do another
Right.
101 people and you got another whale or whatever it is. Those are not
Exactly.
specifics,
Of
compliance. Yeah,
course.
that's not what's going to happen. But
Sure.
it's a numbers game. It's a law of averages. So, well, I mean, you know, I know this is not the messaging that you probably want, but the bottom line is when someone's getting started and you have these recurring revenue opportunities built in there, it really doesn't take a lot to at
Yeah.
least start breaking even on it. And what that does
Yes.
is it doesn't change your life in the sense that now you're financially free, but what it does is it removes the risk. And I think that's
Mhm.
what people are really scared about is the risk of starting a business. Well,
Exactly.
refer three people and the risk is removed, you
Yeah.
know?
And if you don't refer three people, it's like, okay, how much have people lost? Like open up a news website and see how people are freaking out over student loans. I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to put in a few $100s into something and if you want to actually commit and do it, I think you're going to get some good traction. If you're going to throw a few $100s at something and do nothing and then be really upset over it, I mean, I'll just save you the trouble. Just don't do the first part. Like you're already good to go. Just skip the getting frustrated.
It is weird what we talk about in this type of business. We're online guys and stuff like that, and you've also done the physical products, and I'm
Yeah.
pretty well educated in the restaurant business. I mean, you open a restaurant, it's going to take you 20 grand just to get the sign above the door, and that doesn't count the other 900,000 that you invested. So it really
Exactly.
is a
Yeah.
low to no risk opportunity, and I
Yep.
think it's worth giving it a go because
Absolutely.
worst case scenario, it wasn't for you, but
Hmm.
you learn some stuff. Maybe it's a cool conversation that you're going to
Yeah.
have at a dinner party sometime. Like, yeah, I was a digital marketer for 3 months, and maybe
Yeah.
it wasn't for you, but for other people, they're going to look back on today or that day and think, God, what would have happened if I never started? That, I mean, I think about that all the time. What
Exactly.
if I didn't just give it a
Yes.
go?
Yes. Yeah. I forget where I first heard it. I think a lot of people have said it at this point, but just that whole concept of regretting things that you didn't do being more painful than regretting the things that you did. Like I try to project myself into the future a lot of the time and look back to like now if I'm facing a certain decision, like, okay, 20 years from now, if it goes this way, how will I have felt? If it went that way, what will be my feeling? And I'll try to decide now based on what future me would think. So it's really helpful. I find that to be an interesting perspective. And sometimes I'll come up with different ideas than just trying to think about it as me right now, me. So.
Does that generally lead you to dreaming bigger at that point, or does it not really necessarily have that effect?
Sometimes it does. But I mean, sometimes it goes the other way. And so like an example of that would be like with the deodorant business. We grew that to the point where we were making about 3 million a year and we were getting all these offers to buy. And I had no interest because I'm like, hey, we got a foothold into the market. I have a giant email list. We have the greatest reviews. Like everything's going great. And also once you sell it, then it's like, okay, I got money, but now no new money's coming in. So your money's now shrinking instead of growing, you know? So there's all sorts of aspects to it. And I wasn't interested, especially because I just thought, I mean, I knew how to get it to maybe like 10 or 15 million a year, maybe. But I knew, like, I know that there are completely different things that you have to figure out and do in order to grow things bigger, you know, like definitely like your 100 million, all that type of stuff. Like that would require completely different brand new skill sets than anything that I have right now. Um, and I thought about that and I thought about how old our kids were and everything. And I just almost overnight one night just thought, wait a minute, let's say that I did go ahead and grow this to be $100 million company, but let's say that it took me 5 more years to do it. How old are my kids going to be then? How much time and attention will I have had to have put into it in order to do that, to then have a big exit, that type of thing? And I thought, I don't want that. Like my kids will be, you know, one of them will be moved out, the other ones will
Mhm.
be pretty darn close, and then I'll have a big pile of money, and then my kids will be like, "Yeah, we remember we used to hang out with you before you went in all in on that." And so it did the exact well, it did the exact opposite in terms of dreaming bigger for business. It did exactly what you said in terms of dreaming bigger for a relationship with my family. So,
Yeah.
um, the second that I thought of that, I messaged a guy back who had been asking me for a couple years already to sell. And I got back in touch with him and I said, yeah, if we did, if I did sell, how long would you need me? Because it's not uncommon that you have to stay around at least a year, possibly
Mhm.
two for something like this, because I invented the manufacturing process. Like I personally made over 500,000 deodorant sticks. Anyway, um, I was thinking like, okay, I don't think I want to do this anymore because of those reasons. And so, yeah, anyway, I asked the guy and he comes back to me like 5 seconds, says, I don't think we need you more than 30 days. That text pops up and I remember the ding happens and I'm like, okay, all right. Hey, let's have another conversation about this. What would the next step look like? And sure enough, it was very close to being exactly like that. So
That's
yeah,
awesome. And I can't tell you, Sean, how much I appreciate hearing that because that's kind of at the core principle of my motivation is I look at it as remember why I started this whole thing to begin with. And it was never about tens of millions of
mhm.
dollars. It was about the time with my family
Yep,
and being able to see the kids grow up. And I do the same thing. I say no to a lot more than I say yes to because of why I started. So that's really cool.
that's awesome.
And like I said earlier, I'm glad I started. So I encourage anyone to, especially when so much friction is removed and the hard beginning part is already handled for you with Funnel Freedom. It really
Yeah,
gets you to the fun part, or at least the interesting part, really quickly. Because I've built plenty
absolutely.
of funnels, hundreds of funnels, and thousands of emails, and I do it. I've gotten good at it, but it's not the fun part. The fun part
Yeah,
is the marketing of it all, and marketing
absolutely.
is 20% of the business, but guess what? It drives 100% of the sales and you get to keep 40% of it without doing all the other stuff. So
Exactly.
that's a really cool opportunity for folks.
That's awesome.
Well, I appreciate your time, Sean. I appreciate your insight as we dove into what Funnel Freedom was all about. Because while I've talked to Jonathan about it, it
Yeah.
is cool to hear more about the inner workings and specifics. So it really helps me get a better understanding of what y'all are doing over there. And I think it's great. And I wish you all the success in the world and continued growth. To the 1,000 and then the 2,000 active monthly users and stuff like that I'm sure you'll see. But before I let you go, as a thank you and show a token of our appreciation, we always ask our guests if there's any questions that you have for me, and if so, now's the time.
Gosh, Brian, I really, really appreciate you having me on. This has been an awesome conversation. You had some great questions, and I really enjoyed sharing everything. Man, no, I don't think there's anything at all that I need or anything right now. But if you do, please reach out. I'd be happy to do anything that I can to help. And if I think of something, I definitely will. I've got quite the list to get through. So I think that's what I'm gonna get on that.
All right. Well, I'll let you get on that and at least start chipping away at it. Obviously, if someone wants to come check out Funnel Freedom, we'll have it linked down in the description and show notes to go
Perfect.
take a look. And if someone wants to get in touch with you, Sean, because they this is their first meeting with you, and
Yeah.
like, man, that guy's pretty interesting, and he's got a pretty wide skill set that's pretty valuable. What would they do to come find you?
Gosh, honestly, just go to funnelfreedom.io. And if you send through a support request on there, that'll get to me. I don't want to send through an email address right now because I don't check my normal personal email on a regular basis. And there's a very good chance that's just going to get lost forever. But yeah, if you go through that website, then everybody who answers any of those knows when and where to forward anything to actually get a hold of me. So that's probably at this point in time going to be the easiest, fastest way that's actually for sure going to get seen.
I
So
mean,
I
they may as well
appreciate
just
it.
go to where your attention is. That's the easiest way to get your attention. So
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
that's a
I mean,
great way to go.
friend
And
requests me on Facebook. Sure. Sean McLellan, but, you know, you know how that goes,
yeah,
everybody. So come on.
yeah, especially if you've been doing this a little while. I wish
Exactly.
I feel bad for the people who reach out to me on Facebook because quite honestly, they just get lost in the shuffle, and I really hate
Yeah.
that feeling that I'm
Well,
giving
and
them.
sometimes you
So
can't avoid it. I mean, there's like secret folders and secret folders sometimes. You'll occasionally come across one and it's like, what's this message from 2013 and how did I even get here?
I know I can't tell you how many
Yeah.
messages I've said. Appreciate your
Yep.
patience on this. This definitely got lost, and it was literally from 6 months ago. But we don't want that.
Exactly.
So if you need to reach Sean, just go to Funnel Freedom. Start there, check it
There we
out.
go. Yep.
Thanks again for coming on the show here, and thanks to everybody who listened. And we'll see you all on the next episode of the Evolved Marketing
Thank you so
Podcast.
much. Appreciate it. Have a good one, Brian.